Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance alongside Tommy Krysan on this Friday morning edition, the opening day of college baseball season, February the 16th edition of Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. TK over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, where they're getting ready for a busy Friday lunch, and folks picking up their weekend meals and things that they're going to do and cook at the house. We're presented by, I'm at an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame over my shoulder. And of course, we are presented by Bears Casino, where Bears Casino, if you're looking to have a great meal, if you messed up and you didn't get the dinner, you didn't get the reservation, you got a couple more chances. Go to 18 Steaks and get over there. Bears romantic, really restaurant. Maybe take her to Edge Lounge after on the casino floor to have a drink and make up for the fact. But still, go over there. Today, we've got a lot. Hey, why don't you go ahead and mute yourself while I'm talking? Sounds like we're in the middle of the meat over there.
Your audio is breaking up bad.
Is it really?
Yeah, like really bad. Like every fourth or fifth word you say is
Let me try to jump off and jump back on.
All right, I'll tell folks about Tremonti's while you do that.
Yeah.
Hey, Tremonti's, it's Lent, and everybody can get their seafood. They got fried catfish with crawfish etouffee. They'll have crawfish today at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, and while supplies last, that's kind of the theme now. So Tremonti's Meat and Seafood for all your Lenten needs. Crawfish at 4 o'clock today. So we want you to check that out at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Going at 4 o'clock today. As Ronnie said, it's LSU baseball. It's college baseball, all over the country. A lot of junior colleges are already playing. Delgado's played. Nunez has played. But the D1 schools, about 300 of them, all get underway today, weather permitting in Baton Rouge.
All right, how's my audio right now, TK?
Right there, you're good. That's a lot better.
All right, very good. So today LSU is, trying to be smart and play a 2 o'clock game. I don't know if they're going to necessarily start at 2. The benefit of playing it at 2 is you can always push it back to as late as you need to. Right now, the weather is definitely looking like at 2 o'clock, the box is going to be under a heavy threat of rain. And it looks like, just based on the Weather Channel radar and what should happen, that probably after 4 o'clock is their best bet to guarantee getting in baseball. But we will continue to monitor it. The LSU had the best intentions. They've got an 11 a.m. Fan Fest starting, and that's going to be a lot of fun. But who knows if it's still going to go on. I know, like, for example, tonight Nichols is at home. They got a 6 o'clock game at home down on the Bayou. And like you said, everybody getting started around college baseball. Talking about, we'll get to LSU. We'll talk about Tiger Woods is back in golf this weekend. Whenever that happens, obviously there's tons of interest. The Pels, LSU basketball, all of that. But let's start with LSU baseball, a team that is not picked to win the SEC, not picked to win the West, not picked to win the national championship. Believe it or not, if you were to look at the rankings and all the different polls. But I think if you were to talk to the coaches, they probably would have a little different take on LSU baseball. Look forward to see Thatcher Hurd. I don't want to be the doomsday guy, Tommy, but I understand why LSU is not the obvious favorite. And, oh, by the way, they won the national championship last year, but we forget they finished third in the SEC. But they've got some question marks. As good as they are, and as good as I think they will be by the end of the season, they still have question marks, and they still have a lot of reason, and whether, I don't want to say concern, but a lot of interest to see, okay, how's this going to play out? One is right off the top, Thatcher Hurd. I know Thatcher Hurd finished very strong the last 3 weeks of the season, but that wasn't always the case last year. Thatcher Hurd was I don't want to use the word disappointment, but expectations might have been a little too high for Thatcher Hurd last year. Now, he finally lived up to those expectations when the calendar turned to middle of May, but before that it was a mixed bag and a lot more negative than positive. And so, does 3 weeks or 4 weeks of good Thatcher Hurd all of a sudden wipe out 3 months of not so good Thatcher Hurd. And so to put the Friday label on him and just say, here's the ball, go get it. There's not the confidence that I have in Thatcher Hurd that I've had in other Friday night starters that returned from the previous years. Like, there's still the P word potential associated with Thatcher Hurd. I mean, he hasn't done it for a whole season, you know. So I think he's going to be really good. But again, is he Friday, here's the ball, you're my guy for 15 starts the rest of the year, 15 straight weeks, every Friday, you go out, you dominate, you know, and get, 90% of the time. I mean, that's what a Friday night guy is, somebody who dominates 90% of the time.
Yeah, well, and his problem last year was command. I mean, he walked too many people. At one game he walked 3 in a row at one point. I mean, you just can't do that at that level. And and then he got his command, like you said, mid-May, and he threw the ball a lot better, pitched to contact, whatever you want to call it. But no, I think this is a little bit of a mental game. Giving the ball and see how he can respond. I mean, VMI was a team with under 500 record last year. They're not world beaters by no stretch. So he's got to worry about Thatcher Hurd and execute every pitch that's called. I was at Jay Johnson's presser on Wednesday, and he talked about it's a good problem that they got to sort through a lot of things, including Thatcher Hurd, Luke Holman, who's going to pitch Sunday and Monday. I mean, he said it's a good thing that they have so many things to figure out, and they're not even close there yet with a batting lineup and a defensive lineup. I think you're going to see a lot of variety in these first couple of weekends, even maybe 3-4 weeks before conference play starts. That's just where LSU baseball is. But you defer to Jay Johnson and his staff that they're the ones seeing these guys all day, every day. And they're going to put the best 9, 10 guys out there in the lineup to try to win a baseball game. Like I said, VMI and Central Arkansas, 2 teams that, under 500 last year. It shouldn't be a challenge for LSU, but it is the game of baseball.
Tommy, I don't – and look, it's more of a rhetorical question than actually me trying to put you on the spot to come up with an answer for this. But when was the last time you had a returning pitcher from the previous year be, in essence, when you give a guy the ball on a Friday night to start the season, you're saying we expect this guy to be our number one? I mean, I understand there's a little bit of ceremony to this thing in the sense that, hey, he played a big role for us in the postseason last year. We kind of want to reward the returning guy versus Luke Holman, the Alabama transfer and all that with giving him the ball on opening night. And maybe that plays a little more of a factor than we even know. But he had a 5.6 ERA last year. And look, Thatcher Hurd's a better pitcher than I ever was. Okay, he's got better stuff than I ever did. Okay, he throws the ball mid-90s with a hard slider and probably will pitch in the big leagues one day. But he had a 5.6 ERA last year, as good as he was the last month of the season. So that tells you how bad he was before the last month of the season. So all I'm saying is, like, I want to know what I'm going to get, right? Like, if I want to buy a number one starter, I want to know what I'm going to get. This is not knowing what you're going to get. This is a little bit of, I saw him in the fall and all that. But, they saw him in the fall last year, and he was great in the fall, and then he wasn't as good in the spring. So, so I just wonder, there's a little bit of, let's wait and see. I want to see it when the lights come on. And now Luke Holman, who's going to go on Saturday, he's the Alabama transfer. And think of the mess that he was a part of last year at the end of the year when they fired their coach with the gambling and all that. And Luke Holman was the guy who got scratched, of course, in the game that the bet was made. I think he is going to be sensational. If he, as good as he was at Alabama, put him in this situation with everything around him, and not only the coaching but the players and the bench and the bullpen and the expectations are sort of less, right? Like over there at Alabama, he had to go win it. He had to go throw 7-8 innings and be dominant. He doesn't have to do that here. So I think Luke Holman's going to be the guy that's going to blossom and be fantastic this year. I'm just surprised they didn't name a third starter because Gage Jump, a little bit I saw out of him in the fall, was really, really good. I don't know if he's taken a step back. The UCLA left-handed transfer, I thought he was a guy that might be in that Sunday spot. He still may be, but Gage Jump was a guy that really looked good to me. Nate Ackenhausen, Griffin Herring, these were all guys that were options as well. And you would think they would probably want to go with a lefty on Sunday just to break it up, as opposed to going 3 righties on the weekend.
But it could be Cam Johnson too. He's a lefty.
Cam Johnson, another one.
Reports on him have been very good. Full disclosure, I haven't seen him throw yet. I'm looking forward to seeing him throw. But he's a guy that they're kind of high on, and some of the people that been out there told me he's the real deal. So we'll see.
I've saw Cam Johnson in the fall a couple times. He's 95, 96, legitimately left-handed pitcher with an excellent breaking ball. Like, he is the real deal. The only thing though is that they said now they'll have to, if they decide to go with Cam Johnson as a starter, and probably would let him limit him being a freshman and being a guy who potentially could be the top 10 pick in the draft at some point in his future. My guess is with Cam Johnson that they will say, all right, here's the ball, but you're not going more than 5 innings ever, right? But with Cam, they said in the fall that they were probably not going to use him as a starter because they wanted to save his arm. They didn't want to stress out a freshman that has such a bright future, that they would probably limit him to being a 2-inning reliever kind of guy, Now, maybe Cam and his family went to coach and said, hey, man, we ain't worried about, 3 years from now or whatever. We're worried about right now. If we're ready to go. If you want to use this as a starter, we're fine with it. So maybe they did say that. But because if they did, Tommy, then he's the guy. I mean, Cam, there's nobody on the team. I mean, this is Skeens kind of stuff. Left-handed, 95, 96, can run it up there. He's hit 100 in the fall, and he's only going to get better and better. And so, I saw him strike out 7 in a row one time in the spring. I mean, pretty dominant stuff. So if Cam Johnson and his camp is willing to be a starter, put him in there and forget about it. Don't think about anything else.
Well, I'm not surprised that Jay Johnson didn't announce a pitcher for Sunday and Monday. That's kind of the way he rolls now that we've gotten a little bit used to him the last couple of years. He kind of just left it at, okay, we'll figure that out after we play Friday and Saturday. Because here's the other thing. Let's just say, what if they don't play today? Okay, so then does Hurd go tomorrow and then Holman goes Sunday? And I don't think they'll try to play a doubleheader. Now, you got games scheduled between VMI and Central Arkansas tonight and tomorrow night, not Sunday night, not Monday night. So I think LSU's going to do everything they can to get 4 games in. That's when I asked Jay Johnson at the presser Monday, what about these daytime starts? He goes, that gives us the best chance to play 4 games. And they may even tell VMI and Arkansas, by the way, you got to play Sunday morning at 8 because we got to play, and I'm sure that's all been discussed. And, we'll just have to see how it goes. And I would just tell everybody out there, just, connect to the LSU social media platforms. And if they make an announcement, everybody will know about it in less than 5 minutes. And I've got people asking me, hey, man, if you get that email from LSU, let me know what's up. I said, I'll do it. No problem.
The lineup, he did not, Jay Johnson did not go over the LSU lineup. But again, just like, there's a little bit of question mark, not about is Thatcher Hurd got good stuff or is he a good pitcher or whatever. It's just, is he a Friday night guy based on 5.6 ERA last year and the up and down inconsistency and all that kind of stuff? And is he truly the guy you can hang your hat on more than another guy? But as far as the lineup goes, what might be the lineup. We think Mac Bingham would probably play center field based on the fact that he's been a great player at Arizona and a veteran and all that. We think, Paxton Kling's probably going to play right field, and we think we know what the lineup is. Well, based on that, there's 3 people in that lineup that I personally, 4 really, that you go, yeah, we think they're going to be great, but until we see it happen, it's a question mark, and that is Josh Pearson playing second base. How's he going to do at second base? How's he going to hit? I mean, he didn't have a good year last year. He had under 250. Josh Pearson was a guy that I thought would hit 300 every year at LSU, but he had a bad year last year. Even when they believed in him at the end of the year and they kept throwing him in the lineup, he didn't really produce. So Josh Pearson is a guy who's got to step it up offensively. He's got to step it up defensively in a new position. Another guy that, we think he'll do great, but he's got to do great. Braswell, the transfer from South Carolina, had a good fall. They talked really good about him in the fall, but he hit 208, whatever, 210 or whatever last year at USC. Outside of Andrew Stevenson, who hit $190 his freshman year and then came back the next season and hit 360. there's not many stories of guys that hit 200 and then the next year hit 300. It just isn't. Like, it's just not how baseball works, you know. So is he going to improve that much? Is he going to go from being a 205, 210 hitter in the SEC to now he's a 280, 290 hitter every day playing in the SEC? You know, I know he had a good fall. I know they're happy about it, but I mean, like, those are huge jumps. So what, you know, did LSU really teach him the new special thing to make him a non-205 hitter, to make him a 305 hitter? Like, did Jay Johnson the magic where you put your thumb in the air and all of a sudden that fixed everything? Like, I doubt it, you know? So, you know, it's only been not even 365 days. So, you know, again, until we see it. Another guy is Jake Brown, freshman out of Sulphur. He's the reverse Guidry, Gavin Guidry. Guidry came in last year. We thought he'd play shortstop. Instead, he was more of a pitcher impact guy. Brown came in, lefty pitcher out of Sulphur. We thought he was going to be more of a pitcher impact. Now it looks like he's an outfielder impact guy. Freshman, talented, but again, hasn't done it. Hasn't played one single game yet. So what will happen? There's been so many examples, Tommy, in LSU baseball history where the opening day lineup has had a guy in it, and 2 months later, the guy's not even playing anymore. So that's why I want to see it happen. And then lastly, Paxton Kling. Paxton Kling's supposed to be the next Mikey Matuk, right? Like, he's a 5-tool guy, reminds you a lot of Matuk, can run and throw and hit and power. And okay, you know, he did it against lesser opponents last year. Can he step up this year and be the guy against the big-time opponents? Those are the 4 question marks I have in their lineup.
I agree with all of that, and I think we're going to see a lot of different lineups, you know, not just this weekend, but for a couple of weeks. Because Jay, he basically said that on Wednesday. He said it as a good thing, but they got a lot to figure out. He thinks they have more competition in positions today than they had coming out of November, you know, in his mind. So he thinks that's a good problem to have. And, hey, we're going to have to defer to him and let him sort it out and trust that he's going to, you know, put the guys out there to give them the best chance to win. I think you'll see a lot of pinch hitting this weekend. You might see some pinch running, some defensive changes. I mean, he's not set. You remember Palmineri used to read us the batting lineup, you know, a week before the first game. He'd go 1 to 9. He'd go through it. They're not there right now for Jay Johnson. And even if he knew the lineup the other day, he wasn't going to say it because, again, he knows the players listen to this and word gets out. So he's playing, you know, he's sending messages to his team through his press conference, which all great coaches do.
On LSU baseball, you know, we talked about the players that we don't know per se. We do know there are some players that we do know. We do know Mac Bingham is going to hit 300. Is he going to hit 360 this year at LSU? I don't know. That's a lot. That's a high number. But we know he's going to hit 300, right? We know Tommy White's going to be Tommy White. We know Hayden Travinski has passed the threshold of you know, just being a big bopper off the bench. He's a guy. He's a dude now. Jared Jones is a dude. I thought Jared Jones should have played last year in May and June, and he kind of got put on the bench, and they went with some older veteran guys. I thought he should have had more opportunities than he did. I expect Jared Jones to be a monster this year. Brady Neal, you know, the catcher, you know, he was good before he got hurt. He's going to be good this year because they're going to get a chance to spell him a lot, you know, but they're going to get a chance to have to play Milazzo, or they can play Travinski. So he's not going to have to grind on every inning of every game. So, and Neal is a dude. So they've got dudes in their lineup, and so that's the good news. And not a lot of lefties, but they've got dudes in their lineups. So I'm excited, man. Looking forward to it. Really looking forward to March 1st, I think it is, Tommy. Is March 1st, is that a Friday?
Yes, it is.
Yes, that's a Friday when LSU takes on Texas over at Minute Maid. And then the very next day, they take on the Raging Cajuns at Minute Maid. So I'm really looking forward to those 2 games. That'll be the first times we really kind of on a neutral field against got teams that are now a couple weeks into the season. You know, that'll be the first battle-tested kind of series that weekend. Let's talk a little bit about Tiger Woods, man. He's back in the news, dominating the landscape. Tell us what's going on with him.
Well, Ronnie, there's hope for all of us. Yesterday on the 18th hole, Tiger Woods hit a 295-yard drive right half of the fairway. You know, it's a famous hole, 18th at Riviera. His second shot, he shanked it into the woods to the right. I mean, he shanked the ball. He even said after the things, I shanked it. Okay. I mean, so there's hope for all of us who have, done that at some point in time. And it was a shank. There's no other way to describe it. He ended up with a bogey.
I don't think I've ever seen him shank a ball. I don't remember ever seeing him just straight hit a ball to the right, trying to go straight.
It went dead right to the woods. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he was he was 5 yards in, 5 steps in the fairway from the right rough. I mean, he was in the fairway, perfect line. Okay. And he shanked it. He ended up with a bogey to finish 1 over in his first round, back in competition since the more surgeries that he had. So I'm curious to see how he does today.
It's amazing the difference between +1, which is what he ended up. He's tied for 49th, or -1, which is what Sam Burns is, who's tied for 28th. I mean, that's 20 spot difference. So every swing matters. Cantlay is your leader at -7 after day one at the Genesis Invitational, which is Tiger Woods' tournament that he hosts at Riviera Country Club, which is Riviera Country Club would be on my probably top 10 United States list. Of top 10 courses I want to play, that'd be on my list.
No doubt. It's I've never been there, but I've seen it because every year the tournament, it's a special tournament. Tiger Woods has never won on that golf course. He's played like 14 starts at that course, or 12, at least 12, and he's never won at that course. It's just he said it's a fader's delight the way the course is laid out. But he just never has put it all together for 4 rounds. And probably won't do that this weekend. But ESPN Plus has got an app just following Tiger Woods. I mean, they showed him warming up putting for 20 minutes yesterday. 20 minutes just tapping a little 6-footer in. Okay, and he put the tees down, and the putter was going between the tees. I'm thinking, okay, but he does move the needle. Okay, and he's the reason there's so much money on the tour. I'm curious to see how he's going to do today.
Do you ever do that, like when you practice, like put the tees and then putt between them?
I have done that, or I'll put 2 golf balls down and putt between those. But yeah, I have done that, but not lately.
I need to do that.
No, because it's all about keeping the putter head square through the contact, and that's what helps you do that. Because he never hit the tee once. Okay, all these, like Casey McKenzie would hit the tee every time. Okay,
right?
Because he can't putt.
So here's the thing: is that my problem. I think my problem is more the release. It's not keeping it square on contact. It's the release of the club. Like I kind of face open too long through it, as opposed to through.
Release got to come with your right hand.
Right.
Okay. So not that we're doing the putting lesson. If I putt better than you, so you got to listen to me if I'm talking about putting. So and another great drill is Phil Mickelson used to do this. Like before he would go to the course, he would make 100 in a row from like 2 feet. Just you and I could probably make 90 out of those 100, if not more. And it was just a mental thing that he had that stroke just perfect. And the other mistake amateurs make, is the backswing's too far. The least backswing, the better, because then it's easier to keep the blade square through impact. Bob Murphy taught me that. And he was one of the best putters on the tour, the Champions Tour, a long time ago. And of course, he was an announcer at NBC for a long time. But when I caddied for him a couple of times, he taught me that about putting. There's a couple other things, too, I'll show you. If we ever have time to get on the green, I can show you a couple of things that will make a difference.
Not to disparage your putting skills, but, you talked about how you're a better putter than me. About 90% of the people watching than me.
But I'll putt anybody for money. Any course, anywhere. My money, I'll put it up, and I might win, I might lose, but that's my confidence. See, that's the other thing. See, I think I'm going to make the putt. That 22-footer, I think I'm going to make it.
All right, I'm putting together. I've got a couple guys putting together. The Tommy Chrysan Putting Challenge that will be coming to Sports Shorts. Let's talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark, the Iowa superstar, sets the national all-time scoring record yesterday. She scores 49 points. Now is the all-time leading scorer in women's college basketball. And I don't know if you happen to see the highlight of her record set. They were losing. Iowa was 6-5. She makes a three from literally about 2-3 steps inside half court. It wasn't a buzzer beater or anything. She just had an open look, took it, drained it. She is like, I mean, she is the female Steph Curry. I know they've made that in that comparison before, but it's like so true.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I've seen a lot of highlights of her, of course, last year, and then I saw the highlights this morning. You know, that, like you said, that one jump shot that was 30 plus feet. Okay, and it was just boom. You know, it was like when it came out of her hand, you knew it was in. Kind of like Steph Curry, you expect it to go in. It's not like, oh, well, that's kind of a deep three. No, she's going to make more than most people do. But it's a phenomenal story. She is the face of women's college basketball. And, you know, the TV can't wait for her to be in the tournament. And certainly going to hope that Iowa runs deep, gets to the Final Four. And, you know, she's got a good team around her. But she is, you know, with all due respect to a lot of great female players, you know, a bunch of decades, she's the best ever, especially when it comes to scoring.
I hope when they split up the brackets, the selection committee, that they put South Carolina and Iowa on sides of the bracket so they can potentially meet in the national game. That would be probably the highest rated women's basketball game on television ever.
Well, and as good as South Carolina is, and they got a great chance to win a national championship, they don't have a Caitlin Clark. You know, they got a team. They don't have that one player that you're going to, hey, she's going to get 25 or more every night. Or, you know, when we run the inbounds play to come up with a winning shot, you don't know who's going to take it for Carolina. Iowa, Clark's going to take it, you know, unless somebody's wide open under the bucket, she'll get an assist. You know, it's an incredible story. It really is.
I'm not a huge women's basketball historian. It's not been my cup of tea over the years, but and the fact that, you know, I mean, obviously I'm right here in Baton Rouge, so Simone Augustus and Sylvia Fowles. I mean, we know those names. I mean, she went to 4 or 5 Final Fours in a row, and you know, but I don't do people know Simone Augustus in Colorado? Do they know that name in, you know, Washington? Probably, maybe, I don't know. But I know Cheryl Swoops, and Cheryl Miller and Swoops, and you know, Caitlin Clark, and you know, there's a handful of women's basketball names. Griner, you know, I knew her before she got, you know, apprehended in Russia. There's a handful of women's basketball names that you know that transcend whether you're a fan of that team or if you even like. I don't even particularly love women's basketball, but there are 5 to 10 women's basketball names that are just, you know, over the last 50 years that just everybody knows. And Clark is one of them.
One I'd like to mention because I had some interaction with her. Remember Nancy Lieberman?
Nancy Lieberman Klein, right?
Yes. Well, it got ready to decline, but years ago at a National Recreation Convention that I was at back when I was in all that, I believe we were in Phoenix, as a matter of fact. She was there repping some company in the booth, and they had a bucket of gold, regular size gold, and she would take shots. Well, a friend of mine did a 3-point horse game or 3-point contest with Nancy. She had on like dress shoes and kicked his ass. Okay, so of course we still remind him of that. But you know, she was talking to a bunch of us, and you know, she was really cool and was a heck of a player at Old Dominion of all places. Her and Bill Daly, the famous Old Dominion players. But no, she was great, and you know, they would talk that she could play in the NBA. That never happened. But and then Cheryl Miller, Reggie's sister, she was an incredible player at Southern Cal. You know, so yeah, I kind of remember some of those names, Swoops that you mentioned, and
she came from Tech.
Yeah, and there's a couple of players that Tennessee had under Pat Summitt that were incredible. But Caitlin Clark, she's at the top of the list in my mind.
Looking forward to the post. By the way, they had a Division II women's basketball player last night get 44, 5'11" forward. Division II women's basketball player set the national record for most rebounds in a game in basketball in any classification. 44. Now listen, I get it. She's playing against lesser competition. I don't know anything about who she was playing or anything. I mean, they could have been playing the Lighthouse in a blind. 44 rebounds in practice is a lot of rebounds, Coach. That's a ton.
That's a lot in PE class. That's a lot of rebounds.
All right, that's pretty impressive. All right, TK, we'll be back on the air tomorrow morning for Sports Shorts Radio. We'll be live over at the Bruley Walk-On. So come on by. The doors open at 11 o'clock for lunch at the Bruley Walk-Ons. We'll be there from 10 to noon, and then we'll stick around, have a little lunch, and then go out to Alex Fox Stadium for game 2 of the weekend. Tell us about Tremonti's on the way.
Well, it's Lent, so you got all the seafood here, the fried catfish, you get the shrimp rolls, anything you need for the Lent thing, and of course all your wine and bourbon and vodka and tequila for the weekend. They got it all here. It might be a rainy weekend, you might be hemmed up in the house a little bit. Stop by Tremonti's Meat and Seafood on Jefferson Highway. Check out everything that they have. You'll be glad you did.
All right, for Tommy Christ, and I'm Ronnie Rance. Thanks to LeBear's Casino for being our presenting sponsor. Going by there, have that makeup, dinner tonight or tomorrow night that you didn't do for that special someone at 18 Steak, and then stop by Edge Lounge. We'll be back over at LeBear's next Saturday for Sports Shorts Radio, but we're headed to Bruley Walk-Ons tomorrow morning. Check us out at 10 a.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Ronnie, I got a quick one for you.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, a couple of us were talking last night about the Super Bowl halftime show, and one of the old-time guys, he's even older than me, he said, I was an usher at church once. I knew you'd get a kick out of that. I had to go with it, though.